Hello there, fellow rose and flower lovers. This is again Gwen, and I garden in Raleigh, North Carolina, and it's in Zone 7B. This afternoon, I'm going to talk about um, one of the pleasurable aspect of growing your roses, like growing roses. And I know we all love seeing our roses bloom. We all love cutting some blooms to decorate our home with. But one thing too that gives me satisfaction um, about um, being a rose gardener is starting a baby rose from a cutting. So ever since I started like taking care of roses last year, I also got into propagating roses from cuttings. It was because I have very limited budget, so frugally, in order to have more roses on a very limited budget, I thought of how am I going to make more roses out of what I had and or what I have. So the idea of rooting my own cuttings took place. So I know, like every one of you have, like what every one of you have done, you have researched a lot about growing your own cuttings. I mean, propagating your own cuttings, and I did that a lot before I went into it. And what you read and what actually happens could be two different things. And there are times that it's true. We think it's easy, but there are times that it also doesn't work. And my very first rose cuttings that I tried to grow was actually a failure, 100% failure. And what I did, I tried to grow it in sand inside a soda bottle to make kind of like a greenhouse effect on it, but it never took. I don't know what went wrong, what I did wrong, but it it never took. So I tried again, and next time what I did was just the cutting. Uh, when I was like trimming some of the branches that are so wayward, when I snipped the cuttings, I just poked it in the ground. And that was like at the start of fall last year. And you know what? I was quite successful. And what I did with that, what I mean is I did it with Abraham Derby, because I had two Abraham Derby that I bought, which I probably mentioned in one of the videos. I bought from Heirloom Roses. I have two of them flanking in front of me is the DIY garden gate and garden arch that we built. But there were like small branches that was growing, in every direction like an octopus. So I cut it, and the cuttings that I had, instead of throwing it in the trash, I like just poked it in the ground in like clay soil. No preparation, nothing, not even rooting hormones. And I was successful with it. So you could probably say that maybe some of these roses easily root, and also the temperature, the weather was also a factor. So if you're a newbie about starting some roses from cuttings, and it was like fresh one after I removed the the rest of the leaves and only leaving like a branch, like one. I'm gonna remove this one leaf branch. Um, I just poked it in the ground. That's it. And come spring, I have one, two, three, 4 of my cuttings that I just stick in the ground took root. So that's one very simple trick. So do it in the fall and just leave it. Maybe it will take root. And another thing that I did last fall was the cuttings that I took, I put them in soil in a potting soil. I'm gonna grab one. So actually, I put this here. There were several of them here, and I just left it beside like wall, beside the wall outside there, and left it alone for the winter. I think it got snowed, it got like cold, but I got like a high success rate, not 100%, but high success rate out of it. And I know now what I used like what roses I use to propagate, and this is what I have right now. Let me get up again to show you. So I mean, I had two more. I mean, yeah, two. One I already gave to my coworker, and one that I am trying to harden because I'm going to plant it in the front, and I'm trying to get it used to more heat and sun. So I have here another one. This is from last year. I am not sure what I used. This could be a climber, and another one here. I have several that I planted at the front of my house, at the front garden. I had three, and they're also doing well right now. One of them is already flowering. So that is another way of trying to grow a cutting. And the third method that I used is, I know a lot of you out there, I'm pretty sure if you're interested about starting your own, propagating your own cuttings, rose cuttings, you probably have seen a lot of other YouTubers showing how they're doing it on a cookie jar. They call it the cookie jar method. Cookie jars are expensive. I mean, if you have the means, by all means, do that because it looks elegant. But if you're like me, who doesn't have a lot of resources, especially for plants, I mean, resources in general, I have a very simple propagation chamber, if you may call that. It's actually a tote bag. I mean a tote, like a plastic tote that I bought from the thrift stores. And I noticed that like all the requirements that a cutting needs to grow, like a plastic tote can provide, kind of like a greenhouse effect. So I'll attach a video of how my setup looks like because it's not high tech. It's ugly actually. And one thing though that I have been doing is putting it in this area of my yard. I actually call this my patio garden. It's like right outside our back door. And I am actually just like trying to do DIY projects here. My son and I are gonna build a pergola, and I have here all the plants that I started. And this doesn't get a lot of sunlight, so probably it would have like 2 to 4 hours of sunlight in here. But where I place them is like way shaded. I think it gets probably an hour of indirect morning sunlight and no other sunlight at all in the afternoon. So that is where I place my root cut, like rose cuttings that I am propagating. And I have to be honest, I am not too sure if I use the same process when I rooted a grocery store, like grocery store roses, and I'm pretty sure it was an old one because it was very wilted. Of course, I had 40 that I started, and I never really had much hope for it, but 2 of them took. There you go. So this is a grocery store rose. And another one. So I had like 2 kinds, a red one and an orange one. I don't know what took. We will find out when it starts flowering. Keeping my fingers crossed about that. But I'm going to show you a video of how my setup looks like. It's like easy. So of course, I already showed you my potting soil. It's just actually just a garden soil. The same potting soil that I use for my roses in pots. Nothing special because I tried doing it in perlite alone. It had roots, it took roots, probably even 85 to 90% successful. But when I started transplanting it into the soil, a lot of them died, like majority of them died. So I said, why don't I just put them in soil, and then they won't have to do a lot of adjustment once I transplant them to bigger pots. So I have in there like cuttings that's being rooted, that's about 3 weeks now, and I'm going to show you. I have in there that's about 3 or 4 weeks. I have in there that's about 3 weeks, and I have in there that's a few days. And I'm going to show you my non-elegant way of propagating roses. And not just roses, I also do it with hydrangea. So I might be able to also do a video of like a short clips. I will take like short clips of the other roses that's already in the ground from the cuttings that I just put in a potting soil and try to propagate. And yes, of course, I use rooting hormone. I know it's dirty. This is the one that I used. And aside from that, I did nothing. I don't even water them. I only water them the time that I plant them in that pots, and I may check on them every couple of days. And if they're dry, that's when I put in a little bit of water. But basically that's it. So, all right, let me go show you my budget-friendly propagation device, if you can even call it that. Let's go. So here is my inelegant, low class cheap propagation, rose propagation chamber. Actually, just don't throw rose in here. I also have hydrangeas, but mainly roses. So there you go. So cheap, right? I bought this tote from the thrift store. Um, whenever I see a clear one, I go buy them. So this one, I think it's the oldest among them. So this is how the cuttings are looking. I think this is 2 to 3 weeks old. I think there is one here that's not looking good, so I don't know what that is. Well, here's another thing. Don't be like me. I am not very good with keeping record because I'm too lazy when I'm pruning. I just cut those branches and just poke them in whatever available potting soil I have. I'm too lazy to go back inside to get the tags. And also, I think I lost my permanent pens so that I can put tags in my new rose cuttings. So I don't have names for them. I will just wait until they flower to be able to tell what kind of roses are they. So here I think is more than a week. They look healthy to me right now. It's more than a week. I think almost 2 weeks. Oh, sorry. And this is a few days old. I think this one at the center are not looking good. But we'll see. Again, this is an experiment, so we'll see how it looks like. Here's another cutting that I basically like stick in the ground in a clay soil with no preparation last fall, and it's how it's looking. There's another one in here, and this area in here receives very small sunlight, probably 2 hours in a day in the morning. And I'm planning to move these to a sunnier part of the garden. And here's another one. So I think I planted 1, 2, 3, 4. I planted 5, and one didn't make it. There was one in here and it didn't make it. But I never even hoped that they would, survive and make it, because I was just experimenting. I'm thinking, it's like, what I have to lose? Let's just like poke it in the ground and see if it will do. So this is Sally Holmes, and let me see. This is a pot where I have a mint, but I just stick the branches from Sally Holmes that I pruned after they flowered here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one didn't take. Yes, so I guess you could say 80+% success rate, right? Another rose that I'm not going to name because I might get in trouble. I am sure this is not out of patent yet, but I experimented when I was again pruning them. I just stick the pruned branches in the ground, and let's take a look how many branches I've taken. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now you have seen my easy method of rose cutting propagation, just sticking them in the ground. But of course in the fall, I would suggest in the fall, because I did that. I have a few actually. I think I need to go take more videos and pictures. I would prune and deadhead my roses and stick them where they are, and I have few success. Well, it's either I throw them in the trash or stick them in the ground, hoping that it will grow and give me a baby rose. So thank you once again for watching this video. I hope I have encouraged you to try raising your own baby roses from cuttings out of your rose bushes that you already have, or a rose bush that you can ask cuttings from your neighbors. And also, if you are already a very experienced rose gardener, I would appreciate your comment. Maybe you have something to add to the few followers that I have, but most especially to me. Once again, thank you, and I hope to see you again in my next. Bye-bye. I think this is an earth angel. Oh my goodness, yes. I just realized it now, that this is an earth angel that I started from cutting last fall. I mean, so earth angel, you can easily root it from a cutting.